Hi friends, few months ago I posted this video based on an article that appeared in the magazine edited by Professor K.S. Krishnamurti. This article was very different from the usual KP rules because in this article the sublord signification was given more importance compared to the classic KP rule where star lord is the strongest. So this video is a build-up upon the same article. You see, in Krishnamurti Paddhati is very effective uh, when it comes to the predictive framework. But sometimes you find that events can occur during the dasha and the antra of a planet, even when the planet seems to have no clear connection to the related house. I'm pretty sure you must have be having a lot of horoscope where you face this problem that an event has happened, and when you try to map that event to the dasha and the antra, and then you find that the planet has no clear connection to the related houses. This is where the sixfold signification in Krishnamurti Paddhati comes into the picture. Now, this is not a very popular concept in Krishnamurti Paddhati. You will not find uh, much discussion about the sixfold signification, and many of the KP enthusiasts or even some of the astrologers, they are not even aware that there is something called the sixfold signification uh, in the Krishnamurti Paddhati. So this is explained, the sixfold explained, part of it is explained in an article which appears in the third reader, this book, on page 100 and 300 or 315, depending on which version or which edition of the book that you have. And the title of the book is Overseas Travel. In this article, this particular aspect has been highlighted, that the overseas travel is happening in the dasha and antra of a planet where that planet seems to have no direct connection with the related house. So let's say recreate this horoscope and then look at the issues from the traditional KP classic rule and see how the sixfold signification can help us solve this issue. In the Jyotish portal, we have already provided a section for the sixfold signification. So when you generate a birth horoscope, you can see this option over here that says sixfold. So when you click on this option, so it will take you to the sixfold signification section, but you don't find any sixfold table over here. And the reason is that this table is available only to the registered members. So you have to log in, which is free, and then only you can have an access to the sixfold signification. So you have to click here to log in, then you can have the access. So now we have logged into our account and the sixfold table is available to us. But let's first discuss what the issue is in this horoscope. Like I mentioned that this is based on an article from the third reader, and this is the data. The See, I put the name as overseas travel since I have saved this horoscope into my horoscope bank for future study. So third reader, page 300, sixfold theory, 31st December 1926. This is the time, and the city is Patna, Bihar. Now this gentleman went to UK on a major assignment on um, during the Saturn, Rahu, Mars and Saturn period here. This is the period. Saturn, Rahu, Mars and Saturn period. Overseas travel. Now, let's first see whether since Saturn is appearing in the dasha and in the sukshma also. So let's see if Saturn has a strong or even somewhat strong relation with the third or ninth or the 12th house, which are the houses for the overseas travel. So first look at the planet signification table, this table, and let's see if Saturn has any connection with any of these houses, 3, 9 and 12. So now if you look at this Saturn, then you find that though Saturn is very strong, it is untenanted and it is also in its own star, but you don't see any connection with the third house or the ninth house or the 12th house. Let's also look at the another layout for the signification. So now in the again you in the third house you don't see any connection of Saturn, and in the ninth house, same in the ninth house, you don't see Saturn over here, and in the 12th house also you don't find any connection. So this is the issue that we were discussing, that in many horoscopes you face this problem, that the planet has no direct connection, marriage happens, planet has no direct connection, divorce happens, planet has no direct connection, childbirth happens. And despite that, I would say KP predictive framework or the KP framework is still the best framework. It is elegant and simple. But then when we run into these issues, then we are kind of puzzled and we try to figure it out that how we are going to fix this issue where some event is happening and the corresponding dashantar or patantar is not supporting that event. So this is where the sixfold signification comes into the picture. So, and let me explain you the rules of the sixfold signification. Very easy, not difficult at all. It's only the way you look at the signification table in a different manner. Now let's look at the signification rule to create a sixfold signification table. So here are the steps. This is the strongest planet in the sub of the occupant. I'm going to explain you how to apply this in this example horoscope. It's very easy, but one is the strongest. You see in this these rules, the rule number 1 and the rule number 4, these are the new rules in the light of the sixfold signification. The rest are all KP classic rule that you already know. Planet in the star of occupant. Okay, and I have added this word of this cusp so that it's very clear to you that what is meant by the signification. It'll become easier for you to understand. So the rule number 2, rule number 3, 5 and 6, these are the traditional classic KP rules. Only the rule number 1 and the 4, these are new. Planet in the sub of occupant of this cusp, and then planet in the sub of owner of this cusp. In both cases, you see this word sub appears. So now let's look at this chart. Let's look at the 3, 9 and 12 and see how the six-fold signification table is generated. So the rule number 1, planet in the cusp, in the sub of occupant of this cusp. So we have to look at the third cusp first. Planet in the sub of occupant. So let's see who the occupants are. Occupants are, as you can see, Sun, Venus and Ketu. So who is in the sub of Sun? Who is in the sub of Sun? Second is that who is in the sub of Venus? Who is in the sub of Ketu? You saw, you understood how we are writing these rules. Once you have understood these steps, it will be clear to you. Like I said, it's very simple. Who is in the sub of Sun? Because Sun is the occupant of the third cusp, which is related to the foreign travel. So let's look at the sublord column over here. And then you find that Sun, which is the occupant of the third cusp, is also in the sublord, its own sublord. Okay. So Sun is one planet that's going to become the signification or significator according to the rule 1. Now, is there any planet that has Sun as the sublord? Then you find that Saturn is also in the sub of Sun. So Saturn and Sun, these two planets, so that is Sun and Saturn. Similarly, now let's look at who is in the sub of Venus, because Venus is also in the third cusp. So here we find that Ketu is in the sub of Venus, and then we find Mars is also in the sub of Venus, and we also find Jupiter is also in the sub of Venus. So we are going to make a note: Mars, Ketu and Jupiter. And now the Ketu. Let's look at the Ketu again. So we see that we don't see Ketu over here. Now we have the moon. So moon is in the sub of Ketu and Ketu is in the third cusp. So that is moon. So based on this particular rule, the planet in the sub of occupant of this cusp. So in the third cusp, first we have to note what are the occupant, and then we have to look at what planets are in the sub of that occupant. So now we got Sun, Saturn, Mars, Ketu, Jupiter and Moon. Same rule you have to apply for the step number 4 also. Same rule. The one that I showed you. But just follow the same simple this thing and you can come up with the signification according to the step 4. Number 2, number 3 and 5 and 6 are the same, like the old classic. So now if we look at the sixfold, so we said that the Sun, Saturn, Mars, Ketu, Jupiter and Moon, right? Sun, Saturn, Mars, Ketu, Jupiter and Moon. And in the sixfold, column number 3rd, you find the same planet: Sun, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn and Ketu. So these planets have become the strongest significator of the third cusp. In the traditional classic KP rule, this would have been the strongest. But in the sixfold, this is the strongest. And this is how then you find this Saturn now has become a strong significator or the strongest significator of the third cusp. And this is how the Saturn was able to create the yoga for the overseas travel in this horoscope. Now that article in that third reader is very important from another aspect. In that article, the Professor Krishnamurti or whosoever wrote that article has not mentioned about the sixfold thing. But they have tackled this question that how this person was able to go abroad during the Saturn period is based on the cuspal signification of Saturn. So let's look at the cusp table over here. We know that Saturn is not a significator using the KP classic, but if you look at the third cusp, the third cuspal sublord, you will find it is Saturn. Then again, if you look at the ninth cuspal sublord, then also you find it is Saturn. And Saturn is also untenanted. So in that particular article in the third reader, it talks about the solution from this perspective, that Saturn appears at the sublord of the third and the ninth house. And this is how Saturn becomes a very strong significator for the overseas travel. And that article doesn't discuss anything about the sixfold signification that I just discussed with you. Now, my own views are that the cuspal sublord is still a very shaky kind of an affair. A little bit of difference in time will change the sublord. So, sixfold signification is more reliable compared to uh, the 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 cuspal sublord signification. So the idea behind the sixfold signification is that when you are assessing the signification of a planet in Krishnamurti Paddhati, you should not just depend on the KP classic rule alone. You have to come up with at least 5 different angles. And I discussed this thing in one of my videos about the benefits of having a multi-pronged approach, which means that you assess the signification of a planet from at least 5 different angles. KP classic rule, sixfold, 4-step also, and then you can come up with a couple of more rules. One has to be your own exclusive research, but some of the angles I have already been discussing with you that you could consider. And then if in majority of the angles you find that yes, a planet is signifying a particular event, then you can rest assured that this planet is going to give the result. So, and I'm going to share some more hidden gems or secrets in the Krishnamurti Paddhati. Many authors, like you see Bhaskaran and TPS theory, EPS theory, this all indicate that classic KP is okay, but something is still missing. That's why you see all these extended frameworks coming into the picture. And I have been reviewing a lot of those frameworks just to share my experience also and make things a little easier for also. So I will meet you with another video very soon. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.